Hello everyone, this is Taliesin McKnight. Thank you for joining me today. Today's subject is the Empress tarot card. The Empress represents the archetypal mother. She is the goddess of fertility. She represents motherhood and nurturing. So the Empress is the fourth card that you find in the major arcana, but it's ascribed the number 3. Because the Fool has a 0. So the Empress shows a woman sitting upon a throne. Sometimes she's depicted as being pregnant. The Empress card represents motherhood, fertility, and nurturing. So motherhood, fertility, and nurturing. And it has to do with the nurturing aspect of our psyche. It has to do with the great mother of the world. The Empress card is often ascribed to the Hebrew letter Dalet in the Kabbalah. Now here, I'm not talking about Jewish Kabbalah. There are different forms of Kabbalah. Jewish Kabbalah is often spelled with a K. And then there is Christian Kabbalah. And what we are talking about here is a little different. We are talking about Western occult Hermetic Kabbalah. So I don't want to cause any confusion here. In the last 3 or so videos, I was talking about Jewish mysticism. What I'm talking about here is a little different. This is your Western occult Hermetic Kabbalah. Now, back to the subject at hand. The Empress card is often ascribed to the Hebrew letter Dalet in Western occult Hermetic Kabbalah. The Hebrew letter Dalet is ascribed the number 4 because there are no numbers in Hebrew. There are only letters. So just like with Roman numerals, the letters represent numbers. So the Hebrew letter Dalet could either represent a letter D or the number 4. The Hebrew letter Dalet is ascribed to Venus. Venus is the goddess of sex and fertility and sexual union. And the Hebrew letter Dalet connects Chokmah with Binah on the Kabbalistic tree of life. And in the Kabbalistic tree of life, Chokmah and Binah represent the father and the mother. So whereas Chokmah is the father, Binah is the mother. And the Hebrew letter Dalet and the Empress card connects these two Sephirot. And so the Empress or Venus or Dalet connects Chokmah and Binah, the father and the mother. It is the union of opposites to create a third point. It is the reconciliation of opposing forces. Now, the Empress card, even though it's the fourth card, it is ascribed the number 3. And the number 3 is symbolic of the union of opposites and the creation of a third point. Just like, what is creation? Think about this for a moment, sirs and madams. What is physical creation? It is the union of a man and a woman. A man and a woman, male and female, unite to create a child. So it is fertility by the union of opposites. And so from 2 comes 3. So the Empress represents the mother figure. It is fertility and nurturing. It is the archetypal mother. The Empress is the mother. Very much like this is the symbol of the fertility goddess, the earth mother. Now, the exact meaning of the card will depend on the context of the reading and the cards around it. So, if you're doing a reading for romance or love, it will have a different meaning than if you're doing a reading for prosperity or your job. So, the Empress could be interpreted a number of ways depending on the context and also the cards around it. For example, in a relationship, Like I said, the Empress represents mother, nurturing, and kindness and love. If you get the Empress card in a reading about love or relationships, then the Empress could represent that there's a lot of love in that relationship. There's a lot of nurturing and kindness, because the Empress is the nurturer. She is like the mother that nurtures. So if you're doing a reading on a romance or a relationship reading, the Empress represents that there's a lot of love between these people. There's a lot of nurturing, a lot of kindness and love and sensitivity. The Empress in a reading for love or romance or relationships is that. Now, the Empress can represent actual pregnancy. So this is one of those fertility cards. So the Empress could represent an actual pregnancy, the mother. And especially if you get this in conjunction or with combination of other fertility cards. The Ace of Cups is a fertility card. It is the womb. The Ace of Cups is the womb. Also, the Ace of Wands. The wand is a phallic symbol. It represents a penis. So the wand is a phallic symbol, the Ace of Cups. These are fertility cards. The moon is also a fertility card. So the Empress could represent that. It's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean a pregnancy. But I would tell people, if I see a bunch of fertility cards, I'd be like, be careful. You gotta be careful, y'all. Now, the Empress, the mother, fertility, and nurturing could represent prosperity and abundance. Especially, like I said, context and the cards around it. If you're doing a reading about your job, if you're doing a reading for business, it could represent abundance and fertility, like abundance and prosperity. Especially if you get a lot of coin cards around it. Coins represent prosperity and money and finance. So if you get the Ace of Coins around it, the Ten of Coins, you get a lot of coin cards. Or if you're asking about work, then it'll bring out that abundance aspect and fertility of the card. So it all depends on the cards that are around it. In relationships, it normally has to do with nurturing and sensitivity and a lot of love between these people. When dealing with finance or money, it has to do with abundance and fertility. It could represent a creative idea, a project that you're working on. Now, reversed, where the High Priestess normally represents fertility, abundance, nurturing, the mother, creation. When you get to the reversed card, it could represent a lack of fertility. For example, when it comes to finance or when it comes to creative ideas, it could represent a lack of fertility. And this reminds us of how you have the cycles of fertility and death, like you see in nature. Oftentimes in the Rider-Waite deck, you see 12 stars for her crown. The 12 stars represent the 12 months in a year and her domain over the year. And often you see wheat, fertility, the harvest. So anyways, reversed, it could represent a lack of fertility. Or when it comes to the nurturing aspect, it could mean that someone is smothering the other person. So in a relationship reading, upright, it'll represent a lot of love and nurturing between these people. But if you get the card reversed in a relationship reading, it could represent overly nurturing. It could mean that one of these two people is smothering the other one with love. So think of a plant. You can overwater a plant. So it tells you that you're going a little overboard. You need to kind of back up. So that is the reversed interpretation of the card. So the Empress is the mother archetype. It is your motherly nature. In your psyche, it has to do with your nurturing, your loving, generosity, your giving, that mother side of us. So it represents mother nurturing and fertility. Like I said, in a relationship, lots of love between these people. In finance or work, it could represent fertility and abundance. Now, if it's about work, if it has to do with prosperity, it does mean success. But it's not just, oh, there's fertility at work. I'll have success. No. You have to nurture your project. In order to obtain success, the Empress tells you that this is not a success that comes with a lack of care. You have to nurture. You have to put your heart into your job or whatever you're doing. And this nurturing will give you success, birth, and fertility. Just like a baby has to be within, it has to lie fallow for 9 months before being born. So like I said, the Empress is Mother Earth in a sense. It is motherhood, fertility, and nurturing. And within our psyche, it's that nurturing part of ourselves. And it's ascribed the Hebrew letter Dalet, which means door, the doorway to creation, which connects Chokmah and Binah, the father and the mother, in the Kabbalah.